Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome to another episode of Quick Chats. Today's topic is Valheim, and I'm not sure if you've heard of it before, or whether you might be one of the almost 5 million people who've purchased the game, or one of the 500,000 concurrent players on Steam that have helped to push the game up, all the way up as CSGO, Dota 2, and Cyberpunk 2077, funny enough. Either way, if you have no idea what it is, you should have a good one by the end of this video, and as always, I'll leave a link in the description to the Steam page. If you want to go grab a copy, it's only $19.99 USD. I will always try and avoid spoilers, but I will show some footage of the bosses and fighting and combat in some areas in the background, so keep on your toes if you want to avoid that, or just go audio only. Valheim was developed by a 5-man team, Iron Gate Studios, and published by Coffee Stain Studios, which you might know from Satisfactory fame, as well as quite a bunch of other fun indie games. Either way, let's just jump into it. For the few people in the gaming sphere who've been under a rock since the 2nd of February, Valheim is a single or multiplayer experience, where a giant bird drops you off between 5 rocks with scary monsters drawn on them. The goal is to survive, grow more powerful, and defeat said scary monsters. As you defeat these bosses, you'll gain some form of progression, allowing you to harvest or find some new material that you can use to grow more powerful, helping you out just after you landed and through various points of the game. As you discover more items or craft new workbenches and things like that, there's a crow that'll give you a few helpful tips and lore just to make sure you're not completely lost. Progressing through the game from that point feels quite natural. Boss fights will unlock new recipes for crafting and cooking and often allow you to make new armors. These armors stats might not always compare as well as you might think they would, but some of them have a cool set bonus, or one pod could have a set bonus which allows you to survive a certain something or traverse a certain something which you wouldn't have been able to before. Everything in Valheim feels methodically planned. It all has its place and its reason for being where and how it is. It is at its core a survival exploration game which you can enjoy with friends or without. The former, in my opinion, much more enjoyable. After that short intro, I think that puts all of us on the same page on what Valheim is. If you're interested in the game, please drop down the description, hit the like button, quickly click on the link and purchase it on Steam for yourself and hop right in. For those who still need a bit more explaining and still don't understand why this game is good, please feel free to keep on watching. Let's start with the part I probably enjoyed the most, the combat. As you can probably tell from the footage in the background, it is very, very Souls-like. There's blocking, parrying, sneaking, and me liking Souls games, and me liking bows, I immediately started gravitating towards them, going for the old fire arrow, roll, dodge, run away, shoot arrow, shoot arrow, shoot arrow build. Very effective in most games. But what if you wanted to play with something else? Well, switching up your weapon is as simple as crafting a new one and trying it out. Is a sword and board your thing? Maybe a mace or a dagger? Do you too think of yourself as the legacy Legolas left behind? No matter what your playstyle might be, you'll find something that suits it. There's 200 weapons, great axes, big hammers that help with crowd control. You'll find something and they each feel pretty different. But poorly, if it's that simple to switch weapons, how does the progression even work? Well, have no fear, the brilliant 5 people at Iron Gate Studios cracked that as well. As you hit enemies, you'll slowly gain skill points with the weapon you're using. A simple example would be a comparison on how effective bows are at different levels. Level 1 bow, with the basic bow, you have to aim about 40 meters above your target's head, just to have it land short anyway. At around level 27 or so, I would have been higher if I could stop falling off my roof. You can aim about a centimeter at the same distance above the target's head and you'll hit them dead on. Using your focused weapon really does make a difference, but the penalty for switching to a different weapon is only that you need to level it up, so you can really mix up what weapons you use, in what situations, against what bosses, to really mix up the gameplay for yourself. The most unfortunate thing I would say is that there's no way of becoming a mage type. You have powers obtained from defeating bosses and hanging their trophies on starting area statues, but other than that, magic just doesn't seem like it fits into the game at the moment, but luckily it's still early access. On to the next big thing when it comes to combat. What happens when things don't go your way? Or like in my case, you fall off the gigastructure you're building, just for the memes. Well, you die, and luckily there's only 2 bad things that happen when you die. Firstly, you lose a small percentage of the experience you've gained thus far. It's not that bad, but in one play session it can stack up quite a lot if you're dying a lot. 2, you have to run all the way to your body and collect everything you had on you. You do indeed spawn naked at the place where the bird dropped you off, but you can also sleep in beds or Minecraft-like to create a spawn point. And don't worry, running back, unless it's across an ocean, isn't all that bad. You get a corpse run ability and won't lose any skill points for a number of minutes afterwards. I imagine that losing all your stuff can be quite frustrating, but luckily I had some buddies to escort me back to my body. Your solo experiences might vary. But luckily you can explore, find new interesting foods and recipes that can push your HP to 120, 40, 60, even higher. In most boss fights or biomes, maxing out your HP and stamina with whatever food you have on you is necessary, so having high quality food is really important. There are various kinds of foods, from basic meat that you can cook over an open fire, to more complex sausages and stews that give an even bigger boon when they're mixed with veggies that you can grow. You can have 3 different kinds of foods, buffing you all at once, all with different durations or amounts that they boost your hit points or stamina with, so a healthy balanced diet is the best way to get through the afterlife. I could go on about the combat practices and foods and the best combinations available, but this video would get way too long. The next big selling point for me was building some ridiculous structures, which mess up my friends and my frames every time you get close to our base. Building in Valheim isn't like Minecraft or Fortnite. For a structure to stand in Valheim, it needs to be supported from the ground. There are color indicators showing you how well it's being supported, from a solid blue to a dark red, in which case it'll fall apart as soon as you turn your back. As you progress, you unlock the ability to farm different materials, which will unlock different recipes, stronger materials that have better carry weight, allowing you to build to your heart's content. Or just do what I do, push the materials to their absolute limit and build a massive structure. There are so many videos out there explaining in depth the mechanics of building in Valheim. You can build really cool longhouses and tunnels and underground houses and things like that, so I'll just leave a link down in the description for you to go and have a look to figure out how it works. Before we move on to exploration, I want to quickly touch on farming. There are ways to tame some of the wildlife on the map, and also ways to farm carrots and turnips and trees, which are all pretty important later in the game. As mentioned earlier, food has a massive impact, so you have to make sure that you have the right ingredients by farming some scary monsters, as well as making sure that your farms are well maintained. Now heading into exploration, and what in my opinion makes this game feel as incredibly immersive and fun as it is. Getting lost in the open world is some of the most fun you'll ever have. After about the first 5 hours of the game and figuring out how things work and beating the first boss, a friend and I splintered off the group and hopped onto the sorry excuse for sea exploration known as a raft, and sailed to the next revealed boss location we had. We hit some rough waves, the words "the ocean" popped up on our screens. The weather grew worse, the raft was slow, we were hungry and couldn't see. The rain was pelting down around us, and then an island appeared. I yelled, "Land ho!" hopped off and immediately got greeted by 2 trolls. And when I say greeted, I mean had massive tree stumps flung at us. Here 2 leather boys ran into trolls for the first time, on an unknown island with nowhere to run, only a place to stand and fight. It's moments like these that make the game shine, stand out with its head held high, towering above any other game that's attempted anything similar. Every moment you spend exploring the world by ship, finding new and interesting things, building a bigger boat, and realizing that it's the fastest and most effective way to store ores and transport them back to your base for smelting. When you sail up a narrow river, praying that it lets you out back into the ocean like the Vikings did up the River Thames, it became very clear that the whole game was designed around exploring oceans, finding new and interesting islands, places and enemies, and getting lost in a scary dungeon for the first time, walking into a cave and finding a troll guarding some chests, fighting the first 5 bosses for the first time, learning their patterns, their movesets and their weaknesses, then finally opening the map and seeing how much of the world you have left to explore. Where will I go? North, east, south or west? What makes Valheim so special isn't that 5 developers made it, it's that 5 developers made it with passion. Releasing a game into early access that runs well, has minimal bugs and more content than Call of Duty takes up in gigabytes. The reason it's so successful isn't because it was made with a goal in mind to rake in the dollars. It was made by people who love games and wanted to give players a massive immersive world for them to do what they like. No hand holding, no overly complex tutorials, just a general good direction, a kick in the ass, and there you go. That's what it takes to have more concurrent players than most AAA games, more sales than you would have ever expected just from reading the game's description. Valheim is a shining example of what games should strive to do, and what happens when you make a game with passion at the top of the list instead of greed. Hey guys, Paulie here. Thank you so much for watching that video. If you did enjoy, please hit the like button, hit subscribe if you enjoy my content, and I'll catch you all in the next episode of Quick Chats. Cheers.